Hello everyone, this is Somil Yakhtar and I am speaking from Alamkul Institution. Now today we are going to study a new chapter which is biological classification and it is the second chapter of class 11th. So I'm going to start with this chapter. So biological classification, what was the need? The first topic is why was the need to classify all the biological living organisms? So we are going to study about that. Okay, so what are all the needs that are required for classification of the organism into different categories? Okay, so there are some basic needs which were required by the organism for the identification, for the classification, and for proper study purposes. Okay, so these are few reasons that have been mentioned. Living organisms need to be classified because the study of one or two organisms is not sufficient to know the feature of a group. Okay, if we want to know the feature of a group, the study of one particular organism or two particular organism is not sufficient. So as a whole we need to classify the organism so as to study about the organism in detailed form. Okay, then the classification helps to know the relationship between different groups of organism. Means the classification which we are doing on the basis of some characteristics, so that basis or that classification helps one to know about the different kind of features and different characteristics of different kind of groups. Okay, for example, bacteria are unicellular organism, and then if we talk about protista, they are multicellular organism. Then if we talk about more advanced like plantae or animalia, they are also multicellular organism. So a group is needed to divide these kind of organisms and to study them in a better way. Okay, then this classification also helps in evolutionary relationship between the organism. Okay, the classification as help us what? It also has helped us in the study of evolutionary relationship, like how the first one has been born, then from their evolution has been started and the development took place. Okay, like bacteria is started, then after bacteria it is unicellular, then multicellular protista, then fungi, then plantae, animalia, and several other things like this. From unicellular, how a multicellular organism has been formed, this is also will come in the evolutionary point of view, and their classification is also helpful in study of this evolutionary relationship. So these are all the reasons which are required and which are necessary for the classification. Okay, who first classified the organism? First attempt was done by Aristotle. Okay, was done by Aristotle to classify organisms. Okay, he did what? He took very simple measures, like for plants he took the basis of stems, and for animals he took the red blood cells bases. He formed two bases. Okay, so for plant and for animals. For plant, he took the basis of stems. And for animal, he took the basis of red blood cells presence, whether it is present or not. So on the basis of stem, he classified herbs, shrubs, and trees. He classified all the plant categories into three categories: herb, shrub, and trees. And those organisms which are having red blood cells, RBCs, present, and those organisms which are not having red blood cells, RBCs, absent. So those which have RBCs present, inanima, and those which are RBCs absent, anima. Okay, so this he made a very simple attempt to classify the organism which were present on earth. Okay, so what simple steps he has taken? For plant, he has taken the basis of stems. On the basis of stems, he divided herbs, shrub, and trees. And then for animals, he has taken the basis of red blood cells presence. Okay, if red blood cells is present in particular animal, then he will be called as anima. And if red blood cell is absent in particular organism, then they will be called as anima. Okay, now apart from this Aristotle's classification, the first proper classification which we know as two system of classification is done by Carolus Linnaeus, another famous scientist who has given the name of binomial nomenclature also. Okay, so Carolus Linnaeus has made the clear and first successful attempt in classification of animals. Before that, let us cover this one. Aristotle was the first one to attempt classification. He classified the plants into trees, herbs, and shrubs. He also classified the animals into Anaima with red blood cells and Anaima without red blood cells. Okay. Then type of classification system. Basically, in this type of classification system, you will study five different kinds. Like what are the five different kinds? Two system, then three system, then four system, five system, which is still prevailed and is still famous, and six system of classification. Okay, two system is famous and it was valid for a long period of time. Okay, long period of time यही चला था, means two system of classification ran a very long period of time and it was given by Carolus Linnaeus. Okay, so we will study about this. It was given by was Linnaeus. Linnaeus has given the two system of classification, and he simply did what? He classified each and every organism into plant and animals, irrespective of what they are. Okay, सिंपल क्लासिफिकेशन था उनका कि सब कुछ क्या है, इधर या तो प्लांट है या तो एनिमल है. लुकिंग एट दिस फिगर ओनली, उसमें उन्होंने प्लांट में क्या डाल दिया, ही पुट fungi also in the plantae. He put some kind of protistans into plantae, and whatever things were with the characteristic of green color, they were put in the plantae group. And animalia, whatever those were non-green color and they cannot make their own food, were put into animalia. But exceptions have been seen most in these two kind of groups, because there are very certain groups which are both acting as plant or animal. Like if we talk about euglena is cannot make their own food, and it is what, it is being placed in plantae group. Okay, same as there are many eukaryotic organisms. Okay, and they were placed along with the plantae when we know that plantae is what, it is multicellular organism. So there were many flaws. Okay, they were just kept randomly in plantae and animalia group, and this were followed for a long period of time. But as studies grow and scientists continue to study, then came the three system of classification. Okay, but before going to three system of classification, we will see what are the demerits of this two system of classification. Okay, so what are the two demerits? The bacteria are neither plants nor animals, but they were placed under plantae group. See, the bacteria is what? They are not plant also and they are not animals also. In fact, they are unicellular organisms, and still they were placed along with the multicellular organism. Okay, then the simple prokaryotic organisms are kept in the same group as eukaryotic organism. Then same talking about bacteria. Bacteria is what? Prokaryotic and unicellular, and it was placed along with the plantae group, which is multicellular and eukaryotic. Okay, then organisms like euglena, I have told you about this. They possess both the characteristics of plants and animals. Okay, and they were placed in what? They were placed in animalia on plantae only. Okay, then the fungi don't show the same feature as of plant, but they were kept in the same group. Fungi is a completely different group, and it doesn't have any similarity with the plantae group, but it was placed by Linnaeus in the plantae group. Okay, and one famous example is what, this one, lichens. Lichens are what? They are symbiotic association of algae and fungi, and they have both the characteristic of an algae and fungi, means they have characteristic of plants as well as the fungus. And they were not placed in any of the group, irrespective of their importance. Okay, they were not placed in plantae also, they were neither placed in animalia also. And viruses are neither living nor non-living, so they were placed along with the plantae group. So there are many things that have been abruptly placed in this two kingdom system of classification. Okay, that is why it was discarded, but after a very long period of time, as the scientists study about them. Then came three system classification. Okay, three kingdom system classification was given by Ernst Haeckel. He classified living organism into three groups. What kind of three groups? Plantae था ही, animalia था ही, protista. Okay, so whatever the difference was coming, like plant में और animalia में, animals में, जो भी difference आ रहे थे इस group के, वो सारे difference को निकाल के कहाँ place कर दिया? protista में. अभी भी classification क्या है? गड़बड़ है. Like fungi को place कर दिया इसमें, जितने भी bryophytes, जितने भी बैक्टीरिया थे इसको प्लेस कर दिया जितने भी प्रोटोजोन्स थे, प्रोटोजोन्स इसमें प्लेस कर दिया. ओके, जितने भी स्लाइम मोल्ड्स एंड ईस्ट थे, स्लाइम मोल्ड्स इसमें प्लेस कर दिया. मतलब कि इसका डिमेरिट और इसका जो भी डिमेरिट था वो दोनों कहाँ लाके प्लेस कर दिए, प्रोटिस्टा में. सो प्रोटिस्टा वाज व्हाट, as a kind of it acted as a kind of dumped group. Okay, whatever the demerits of this plant and animals, whatever the unmatching things of this plantae and animalia group were having, they have just created the protista group, and all the unmatching things were there in protista group. But still this classification is not complete. Why? Because protista was having group of unicellular organism also and multicellular organism also. They were having the eukaryotic organism also. They were having at the same time prokaryotic organism also. And they were having slime molds and fungi. Fungi is not having the characteristic of protista. So there are still flaws in this three kingdom system of classification. Okay, these flaws, some of them are written. They include what this system of classification has demerits in the terms that both unicellular and eukaryotic were not separated and were kept in the same group. Okay, as I have told you, unicellular and prokaryotic bhi usi mein the, eukaryotic wale bhi usi mein the, and fungi has नो क्लासिफिकेशन. प्रोटोजोन्स में प्लांट और एनिमल्स का दोनों कैरेक्टरिस्टिक है. तो सारे डंप वाले जितने भी सिमिलैरिटीज थे वो प्रोटिस्टा में बस एज इट इज पुट कर दिए गए थे. देन केम फोर किंगडम सिस्टम ऑफ क्लासिफिकेशन. Okay, and which I will discuss in the next class. That is it for today's class. After the four, then we will discuss five kingdom, and then one by one each kingdom will be discussed in the class. Okay, that is it for today's class. Bye.